I love that. Maybe 10 years down the line, when grunge is kitschy, we'll do a grunge revival. And they never did. And I'm loving that. And I love that they're like, grunge is a foregone conclusion. This is we can't really even point to what it is. So, you know, let's not do this. Let's not do this. And I hear that ethos, and I think that that's a really interesting place for them to have been. They were really they were, by the time that interview was taken, dismissive of it. They were like, all right, you know what? To us, it's been and gone. Okay, see ya. But you know what? That's the way it is when you're in the epicenter. When you're in the epicenter of something, you get to see it in real time. But the rest of the world feels the reverberations over weeks, months, years, decades. I don't think anybody knew that grunge was going to be the thing that made Sub Pop what it is. I think it exploded out of their wheelhouse, and they're all, wait, wait, wait. And I listened to some interviews with the heads of Sub Pop Records and Mudhoney, and I was in some ways very sad to hear some of it, because it was the words of somebody who was there, really there in Seattle, and how absolutely absurd it got. And I was sad for them. I was also sad with the realization of, oh, this is how the hipster thing got the sort of stuck up air about it that it got, because there was so much of the interview that was given being like lampooning of the fact that the entire world was interested in it. The part that really got me was where this New York Times columnist who was interested in linguistics went to Seattle and asked for a modern lexicon of grunge, and was given an entire nonsense list of things that no one ever said that were like supposed to be this lexicon of grunge, which while I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, that perfectly fits what happens in linguistics when you happen on a jargon or an in group. If you ask about it, there's always a misdirection given. And you know what? I've never found anything to be the other case when you're studying traveler language, or when you're studying Vax 2 Roma. Oh, and I got given the slip in school over Vax 2 Roma, and my informants thought it was very, very funny when we had to abandon the project and take up Basque. You have to give up a language and take up Basque, where like the people really don't want to tell you that much about it. Wow. Just a whole lot of wow. But yeah, that happened, and they were lampooning that. And they were lampooning the fact that people would show up, as they said, with Maryville hair. And I don't live in Seattle. I live in Portland, but I know where Maryville is. And I know it's like the lampooned suburbs. Basically, people showed up as normal, hey, look at me, suburbans, like just sort of like dressed in the very, oh, look at us, we're wearing that Seattle flannel grunge outfit, and they were making fun of that and being like, yeah, these people showed up with a list of, where do I see these things? And they said that's when they knew it was over. And that's a very interesting thing. I can concur that when you are in that forest, you don't want to see those trees. You do not want to see your entire area overrun by stuff that isn't authentically that area. It feels like it gets sold out and gets gentrified, and so you get this air of, oh well, these are the gatekeepers, and then it gets real snotty. And you know what? That's how hipsterism became. And then you have all the, I know more music than you, man. Like people that you envision. I always feel bad because even musicians, when I'm like, I was doing an interview with Scott Kremen, and Scott Kremen is incredible. He's been at it for so long. I admire him deeply. He was part of Chem Lab. No kidding. He was, I believe, the saxophonist for Chem Lab. Such an incredible name in both shoegaze and industrial music, and just the history. The fact that he was hanging out at the Limelight when I was in diapers, man. Well, probably not in diapers. I was in grade school. Anyway, I was listening to him talk, and he said, oh, I'm sure you know much more music than I do in this area. I'm sure your collection is much bigger. And I was like, no, Scott, no, it's not. I'm a minimalist, man. I don't collect things. I'm not the guy who's trying to be the gatekeeper in any respect. And that is an important thing to remember. If you happen upon something new and exciting and awesome, don't hesitate to just share it with everybody. Be excited about it, but please never let it make you snotty. Never let it make you like hold court over anybody for it. Don't. Like, music is to be loved and shared, and that was the downfall, honestly, when I have to look at it. And that's what makes me sad. That was the downfall of the entire Seattle Sound movement, was the fact that it got a very snotty air. And when I was listening to the interviews, I was saddened by the fact that there were people from all over the world who were trying to explain, yeah, you know what, this really was incredible to us. Like, I was sitting in Israel, I was sitting in Germany, I was sitting in this place or that place, and it was so radically different. And they were very gracious about trying to be like, yeah, I understand. But there was also a sort of there was a sort of haughtiness to it that I was very sad to hear. When you manage to be part of something and it ends up being super formidable, there is that temptation to eschew the things that were outside it, because it comes and encroaches on the things that you loved. And to wit, in those days when Nirvana was hitting, when Soundgarden was hitting and things like that, I was a little jaded by it too. I was of the mind where I was just like, I am not about any of this Seattle thing, because it came and killed punk, and it came and wiped out the coolness that was alternative. And so leave me alone. And I feel bad about that now. I really do. I was very much like, ooh, Kurt Cobain, forget it. Like, I was very much if it's, if it's not industrial or gothic, it's crap. I was that guy, and I didn't miss out on the Seattle Sound. I didn't, because I was, in Denver, which was close enough to the West Coast to be too close. And it was everywhere in Denver, of course. And everybody wanted to sound like that. It was on every radio station. And so after a while, after the after grunge sort of, in my words of those days, sold itself out to the popular mainstream, to MTV. After MTV started playing Nirvana videos every other video, and the Real World was all over on TV, and the Real World would preempt 120 minutes at every given turn. That's when I was like, all right, enough. And so I get the feeling that they felt the same way, that something they loved and were so close to was washed out by popular opinion, and they didn't like it. As much as they had promoted it, once they got that, it was, once the world caught on to it and was like, we want this, and sold Seattle out, basically, like, it lost its cool somehow. And the people who really loved it were all, never mind. We're going for hipster stuff. But yeah, like when I look at it, the whole thing is tragic.